waking up every day feeling like something is missing. It's like no matter how much success you have in your life, a deeper sense of fulfillment still remains just a bit out of reach. You've checked all the boxes of career, finances, responsibility, yet inside, there's a nagging feeling that you're not fully aligned with your true purpose. So, what if the key to unlocking true success isn't found in the external accomplishments, but in understanding our unique life path and embracing the spiritual blueprint designed specifically for us? And in today's podcast episode, we're going to explore how redefining success, aligning your divine purpose, and making a powerful life shifts can lead to a life of true fulfillment, abundance, and clarity. And so if this is the kind of topic that resonates with you, and take a moment and hit like, subscribe, and share. And please do leave a comment so that we can get more people out there to get a hold of this type of content, this type of information. It's because of your engagement that helps us spread this message and empower more men to live with confidence and purpose. And with that, let's get on with today's episode.
The average man today is sleepwalking through life, many never reaching their true potential, let alone ever crossing the finish line to living a purposeful life. Yet, the hunger still exists, albeit buried amidst his cluttered mind, misguided beliefs, and values that no longer serve him. It's time to align yourself for greatness. It's time to become a revolutionary man. Stay strong, my brother.
Welcome, everyone, to the Revolutionary Man podcast. I'm the founder of the Awakened Man movement and your host, Alain Dumonceaux. What if everything you've ever been chasing, think of it, success, career, wealth, recognition, is actually the thing that's keeping us from living our true purpose? And how would your life change if you fully embraced your unique spiritual blueprint and allowed it to guide your decision, relationships, and success? True success isn't about external achievements. It's about finding alignment with your purpose, embracing your unique gifts, and living a life of fulfillment and clarity. Today, we're going to explore how shifting our mindset and understanding our divine path can transform every aspect of our lives. And with that, allow me to introduce my guest. Bill Heinrich is a high-level business coach, speaker, and author who has over 50 years of experience as a business owner. With the past 15 years, he's been helping thousands of individuals unlock their true potential, achieve success in their personal, professional lives. And with a passion for empowering others, Bill's created a proven framework to help us quickly and easily break through barriers to live our best life. Welcome to the show, Bill. How are things, my friend?
Oh, everything's wonderful. Thank you very much for having me. It's really great to be here. It's been a while. We talked a couple of years ago. We had a great conversation.
Yeah, that's correct. It was a little while ago. I'm really grateful that we're getting a chance to connect again and continue our conversation. So as you know, here on this podcast, Revolutionary Man, we always talk about everyone's hero's quest. And so I've adjusted the question a little bit from the last time you were here. And it's really about telling us about your death and your rebirth moment. If you think about the, our hero's journey and how that experience really shaped you into the man you are today and the work you're doing.
Well, that's a great question. The way I answer that, and it surprises people, is it happened out of unwillingness. I was unwilling to live that way any longer. The pain, the chaos, the confusion, the misery was so overwhelming. I walked out the door, completely committed over 30 years ago, walked out of it was 2 days after Christmas. I was at Lake Tahoe. There was 4 feet of snow on the ground. And I looked at the woman I was in a relationship with, and I said, I'm so effing miserable. I've got to go find out why. Of course, she thought I was blaming her, which wasn't true. And I left, and it took a while to start finding the pieces and put it together. But I was so committed. I wandered like a zombie for probably 6 months. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was fortunate that I had a little business in telecommunications, and I had some income coming in. And I literally took a couple of years off. Went down to Mexico, lived on beaches for over 3 months by myself. Just really dug in. And I've been researching it since then to just before you and I got on the call. I'm still doing it, right? And it was unwillingness to live that way. And what happened was just a whole series of miracles. You know, if you asked anybody that knows me about me, in fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I was in Hawaii. I lived there for 5 years, but before I moved there, I was over there having fun doing a photo shoot. And there was this famous psychic that lives on the Pali Highway in Oahu. So I was going up the Pali Highway. I said, well, I'm going to stop in. So I stopped in. It was early in the morning. Her name is Von Lowe. And her secretary was sitting there. She did it in her house. And her secretary was there. I said, can I get in to see her? And she said, oh, no, you know, I was there in May. She said, the first opening we have is October. And I said, okay, great. But thank you. And she said, you know, well, give me your name and number. If somebody cancels today, I'll call you. Are you going to be around? I said, sure. Well, sure enough, I got a call later, right? I said, I'll be there. So she saw me, the last person that day. But she walked, I went in, they had me go and sit in her office. She walked in, she looked at me and she went, wow, you're two different people.
Mm.
You used to bring pain and make people cry, and now you're Buddha. Like, I've never seen such a change in one person. This is exactly what she said to me. It was very true, even truer today, because I'm operating a much higher vibration now. But you know, that's what really described my life. It was literally, the contrast was that great, which in fact makes sense because in part of what I've learned is in the universe, there's duality
Yeah.
in everything. So if you're in such an extreme state of misery that I was in, the duality in that, if I get out of it, is to go to the other side, which is pretty high, right? It's because that's duality. You know, there's hot and cold, male and female, everything. There's duality in everything in the universe. I mean, it just totally makes sense the way the universe works. But that's what got me there. And then I just kept learning more and more and more things. Then I really got into my intuition, and really my psychic abilities really kicked in. So I started learning some things, and I was getting this download. In fact, I went to a friend's seminar, a 3-day weekend in Phoenix, Andrea Hess, and it was a soul reclamation 3-day seminar. And in there, she was talking about divine gifts. And the moment she started talking about them, the information just flooded into me. Like I knew everything about them. The next day, we're driving back to the seminar with my wife, and I started talking about him. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I said, well, it's just, you know, it's just like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to get interviewed with Alan, and I'm going to get on Zoom, and I just boom, 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 just had the information. And so I dug into it more and more, learned more about it. And then I was like, wow, I've got to find a way to teach people this so it'll stick, because I worked with some people and showed them, but they didn't pay enough money. They thought it was cute, but then they went off and they were just in misery again. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. Number one, that's worthless. So I figured out a way to put pieces together for a coaching program. And I've been doing that for 15 years now. So it's kind of funny because I work with the business people. In fact, I'm going to be doing a 5-day life purpose challenge here in a couple of weeks. I'm going to start, it'll be on social media, where people can come in and kind of create their own blueprint and work on their own. So I went to some of my clients and said, hey, send me a short video as a testimonial, right? And, you know, this is the truth, you know, from Dustin in Asheville. Man, listen to Bill. I've been working with him for 6 years. Jeff in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah, I've been working with Bill now 7 years. Pay attention to every word he says. Brian in Denver, I've been with Bill for over 5 years. Paulie in Burlington, Vermont, I've been working with him for 3 years and went through a divorce, and listened to him. He's amazing. So that's what happens, because when you understand who you are, you're working a different way entirely, and you step into a universe of expansion. We no longer think in earthly ways,
Right.
because everything on the earth in our physical is based on limitation. It's all about struggle, lack of clarity, and hard work. That's the best you're ever going to get out of your life, unless you get into spirituality of some sort. Spirituality lets you enter a different dimension. So
Well, I have this vision, Bill, of it as you're describing this, of it's we're both in the same river, except some of us are paddling upstream and wondering why the hell is life so bloody hard, and others are just going with the flow. Like you've learned to turn your boat.
It's worse than that. They really aren't paddling upstream. What they're doing is staying fixed
Mm.
in their position, which does nothing but create resistance, because it's a scientific fact that the universe is in a constant state of organic expansion.
Yeah.
It's constant.
Absolutely. And that's a good point, because I think while we struggle to move forward, staying with the river analogy, we think we're moving upstream, but we're actually losing ground. And we lose ground because we have these fixed mindsets. And I know you've already mentioned the word blueprint a couple times. And what I always find fascinating with your work is you have this idea and concept of a spiritual blueprint. So let's talk a little bit about what you mean by that and how this can really affect someone's life path.
Well, they have to have a blueprint. They have to. And the reason they have to is because everybody's different. So there's not one blueprint for everybody. And that, what other coaches do is they give people, well, do this and do your push-ups, make sure you go for the walk in the morning and read these 5 books and, do all this stuff. You know what I tell my clients to do? Don't do a damn thing. You don't have to do anything. What you have to do is become aware so you can make powerful choices that support you. And the choices that you make, Alan, and that I make are different, because we come from different places. We're different people. We have different cultures, different neighborhoods, everything's different. The only thing that we have in common is that we both exist in 2 dimensions. Okay.
Yes.
We're in a physical dimension. That's Earth. That's our life as we see it. And there's a non-physical dimension. Now, there's a language for both dimensions. And if you're focused at where everybody is, because what happens is we're born perfect, we come out, the doctor slaps our ass, and everything goes downhill from there, right? So that's the way it works. But the truth of the matter is everybody's in survival. And the irony about life is this, is fear comes from one source, one place, which is your fear of death, your fear of loss. That's where all fear gets generated from. People don't realize that they just have an innate fear of death. Consequently, when fear comes up, you always go to protection. You're protecting yourself. You're afraid of losing something. So you're protecting your story. You're protecting who you are. Your ego and your head is doing that, while your heart is just sitting there saying, there's nothing to protect.
Right.
Right? The more with the heart and love, the more you give, the more you get. It's the way it works.
That's a great point. So many times in our lives, we do get stuck with this fear concept, and it is the fear of death and loss. And it doesn't have to be the big one, where we stop breathing and we move on to something greater. But it can also be those moments in our life where maybe it's a career change, that death and rebirth experience you talked about, finally looking, at the woman you were with, and then analyzing your life and just saying, okay, and I've had enough. I'm unwilling to continue to live this way.
Yeah.
And so what does it take? What are you finding are the most common challenges that the people you're working with, that to help them really get realigned with their life purpose?
The number one challenge that everybody has, the number one thing that stops them, is the fear of their power. We are so powerful. We can do so many things. And when you understand how powerful you are, and then you look at your life, it is pitiful, regardless of what situation you're in. Because we live in a world in the physical where people's boundaries on their ignorance is so close, it's absurd. And they spend their whole life protecting those beliefs because that's all they have. When in fact, they don't matter. I don't care what your beliefs are. I am very interested because I can learn something, but there's nothing you can do to take anything from me. There's nothing you can say to me to hurt me. Only I can hurt me. You can call me all the names you want, but what you're really doing is describing to me how you feel inside.
Yes.
Because you can't share that if you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
When you come from a place of love, you can't bully somebody. It's impossible. When you bully somebody, it's because you have total lack of self-worth, period. And what you have to do is rise up. I was an expert at this. That's why I lived for many years. You have to rise above. You're always above or below, right?
Yes.
So in the physical world, when you measure, you suffer.
Right.
Measurement equals suffering. Anything you judge, you are.
That's a great point. You know, I was sitting there thinking about, you were talking about being, you know, I've heard this said before many times as well, and I've read it about people being afraid of their power.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you really mean by afraid of our power? Is it that we're afraid we're going to succeed, or we're going to do the thing that we've been telling ourselves we can't do? What? Let's just work that one out a little bit.
Well, I think the primary thing with it is, you know, what's that old saying that somebody laying there, excuse the French, in a pile of horse shit, you know, and they say, but it's warm and I know what it is, you know, right? And to step into the unknown isn't something people are willing to do. But that's where I live. I don't want to know. You know why I don't want to know? Because if I know, I'm setting an expectation. And when I'm setting an expectation, I'm putting myself in extreme limitation as to what can occur rather than energizing my intentions and letting a miracle occur. So they're really afraid of their power. Are you familiar? You know, this was credited to Nelson Mandela, but it was really written by Marianne Williamson in the book of Return to Love, Our Deepest Fear. Our deepest fear isn't that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be talented, fabulous, and wonderful? Who are you not to be? You're a child of God. And so it goes on. That's just such a powerful, powerful story. And it's so true. It's just so true because we have these divine gifts, these 7 energies that flow through us. Well, people don't know what they are. So this is the big download I had at that meeting with Andrea Hess that time. But here's the irony is like, do you know anybody, you must know some people that have a fear of conflict.
Absolutely.
Okay. The reason, I'll tell you why they have a fear of conflict. Okay. Because one of their divine gifts, one of their energetic powers is divine order. And when there's conflict, now they don't know this. They literally don't know this, okay? Because it's been this way ever since they were born. You know, you're born with these lessons and things, and you see life a certain way, and you accept it, and it's just kind of that way. And I'm like, I don't want to be in conflict with you. I want everybody to like me. I'm going, you know. Well, the truth of the matter is that means they have divine order. It's the energy that makes them feel like Humpty Dumpty falling off the wall. They're all cracked up. When in fact, because they have divine order, this divine order is about bringing harmony, balance, beauty, order, and function to everything you do. So regardless of the conflict, this happens to be one of my gifts. You might even feel the energy as I speak. With divine order, somebody's like that, I'll just step in and I'm going to show them some love, and that situation will change in a nanosecond. A nanosecond, because I use that energy. So I work with people like this all the time. And when I show them that, and they're terrified to do it because they think they're going to die. But the truth of the matter is when they do it, they're like, what they say is, you're not going to believe what happened. I'm like, no, I won't. Come on, but tell me anyways, I mean, and so we have these gifts, these 7 divine gifts. And so there's a yin and yang in all of them. And everybody has 3 really strong ones. And that's what I work with people. And when they start understanding their energy, you literally, what we do is we create miracles. Now, people go, oh, miracles, bullshit. No, let me tell you what a miracle is. Okay. A miracle is just an unexpected event with a positive outcome.
Mm.
It's like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I live with miracles all the time. Like the other day, I'm out on the West Coast right now. I was coming in from Los Angeles, coming back to out by Riverside where I am. And I'm driving down the freeway and I came back a different way. And I thought, oh, darn, I wanted to stop at Walmart. There's something specific I wanted to pick up there. And so I just had this thought, and it's like, oh, let me check my phone, So I got my map out, said, where's the nearest Walmart? It was the next exit. I'd never come down that way before. And that's my life. Just perfect. It's just, I let it flow. I let it happen. I get parking places or, it's so you just create it.
Yeah. Well, it's about surrendering to me. I hear you talk about that. And it's really about, from a position of, you said earlier about, when you measure something that, it's
Suffering.
It's suffering. And then as a guy like me who is, still pretty much stuck in business brain. And so when I talk about measurement, what you measure, you accomplish, and what you don't, you don't. Right. And so it's interesting.
What you measure limits your accomplishment.
Well, that gets done, but it does put a frame around and blocks out the other things that could be getting done.
Yes, it does. And not only that, it causes you to control and manipulate. It changes how you think. Where your energy goes, you go.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing that, it's like, well, I'm going to get from here to there, come hell or high water, right? Yeah. I'll pay the price. I'm going to do it. But along the way, there's just destruction and just, when in fact, I can just sit here and do it with just energy. It'll just come to me.
That's so interesting. You were talking about this, and I want to get into more about this, about the energy, because I think for guys, we tend to struggle with words like this. It kind of,
feelings,
if it's, the feeling piece of it. But the story I wanted to talk about is that I was put in a position several years ago where at the employer that I was working at, I was basically tasked with turning a business unit that is traditionally a loss leader, so it never made money, to trying to save it from being outsourced and a bunch of people potentially losing their job, and pivot it so that it didn't need to make a lot of money. It was in the gaming business. That's not where the bills are getting paid. It's obviously on the gaming floor, but so that it wasn't a burden on the business. And so that experience really forced me to, again, go back to this measurement aspect, was to start looking at it from a non-emotional perspective. Okay, what does my financial statement look like? What are my controllables? And doing all that at work. And then from there going, okay, now how do I do this with the most compassion and the most respect for the people that are going to be impacted, those who are also ultimately, unfortunately, had to lose their job and the positions were eliminated, but also the ones that remained. And so I wish we would have had a chance to meet 4 years ago when I was going through this experience, because I think many of us guys are in positions where we're living with life in this duality aspect of life. And we have these encounters where we had to make difficult decisions, much like you were describing. How do we approach that from an energy perspective to make sure we're staying centered and compassionate?
So here's where you start. Okay. Number 1, you never make another decision. Because the word decision, the Latin root of that, which I can't pronounce, means to cut off. What's the energy in that? The first thing I teach people is never make another decision. Always just make a choice. because when you make a choice, you're making it from your personal power. When you're making a decision, you're doing something that you want other people to see. You're concerned about what's going to happen, what it's going to look like. You ultimately had no control over whether those people were going to lose their job. You weren't there to save it. What you were there to do was to get clarity
Mm.
and see if you put some paint on it, if we could straighten this up a little bit, can it be turned around? That's what you were there for.
Yeah.
So never make another decision. It's always a choice. Just say it. Say, I've got to make a decision, or say, I'm going to make a choice. Because when you make a choice, you can change it. If you say it, you'll feel the energetic difference instantly.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it out loud. Just say the two of them out loud and see how it feels.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to make a decision, or no, I'm going to make a choice. The choice just feels so much lighter.
It's light. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. When I said I have to make a decision, I just felt this weight on my shoulder here just came down. It's like, okay, I got to get this barbell off my shoulders. But
so there's number one. Now here's number two. I'm going to have you make a choice. Which one is better to work with? Accountability or responsibility?
Oh, responsibility.
Yes, you are in the 3 percentile. Everybody goes to accountability, but accountability means you're answering to someone else. Accountability means you're putting yourself in the victim position. You don't get to determine officially how it turned out, how it is. If you're in responsibility, then you say, like, I'm not here to be accountable to you on your show. I'm here to be responsible and spread the pure truth that I know to people. And I don't give a damn what anybody thinks about it. Okay. They can say what they want. If they're saying it, there's something I'm going to tell them right now. You speak against what I'm saying and you're suffering. I guarantee it. I guarantee it, because it only brings suffering. So you work from a place of responsibility. Anything in my life, I am responsible for. If I'm driving down the street and you rear end my car, I called that in somehow. I'm going to let the insurance companies do whatever they do, but I'm done with it. I'm going the other way.
Right.
Right. I'm not going to be, that son of a bitch, and I'm going to go to court, and it's like, no, they'll take care of it. I'm going to go in expansion and create and just do what I do. That's just stuff that happens. It's just part of life. And somehow I called that in. I'm going to meditate on how did I attract that into my life?
Yes. Yes. Decisions earlier on in the day that ultimately culminated with you to be in that moment at that time for that experience.
It was for whatever reason.
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
One time, in fact, this goes back to like 2000. This woman I was in a relationship with, we were coming back from a meeting one night and got rear-ended and got pushed across the street into a tree, car totaled. We weren't hurt, shook up a little. 9:30, 10 at night. So they came, they towed the car away. We went home, got up the next morning, and we looked at each other and said, okay, we're never talking about that again. I don't want to relive that energy. I want to cleanse that energy. I want to have compassion for the person. He was drunk, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I'm not going down the street and everybody I see, you're not going to believe what happened last night. I had a major medical event a couple of years ago. Okay. Nobody knows about it. Why? I don't want to live that.
Right.
I got it taken care of, got myself back on my feet, and off I go. In fact, I was at a family gathering, and somebody who knew about it in the close family came up to me, and another family member was there and asked me about it. And she was like, what? Like that. And I said, yeah. She said, I said, that's exactly why you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be exposed to that the rest of my life because of it.
It's interesting. We're continuing, the stuff that you're bringing up is just, the timing is impeccable, especially with, the change in the US now with new government. And I just see, I've seen it on both sides of the spectrum. I saw for lack of, we'll just use some terminology here, but on the, in the prior administration, everybody on the right's freaking out. Now in the current administration, everybody on the left's freaking out. And I sit there and I look at this, and the energy that we put forward into these things, regardless of what political stripe you're from, just perpetuates and creates more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's go back and really expand on your work about energy and how we can utilize this to serve, to be of service.
That's the nature of energy. Energy is always in expansion. It's always in expansion. Always. So if you're pissed off and a Trumper, and that's what goes with the territory, and it's only going to get worse, right? It's only going to get worse. In fact, when he got elected in the morning, I had to call somebody, would you come and get me off the floor, please? Like this, I am shocked beyond belief. And I thought to myself, well, boy, there's something I don't know here, because he got the majority vote. I'm going to learn a lot more about how this happened, because there's something going on that I don't understand at all, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so I want to know, not just like women. I had a woman running for president, and more women voted for Trump. I mean, the whole thing was like shocking. So, that's my open-mindedness. They're going to do their stuff. I don't hang out in politics. I don't do it. But here's where it comes from. We're energetic. We have energy. Ha, chi, when you breathe, this is who you are. When you look in the mirror, what you see is not you. What you see is a manifestation of your energy in that moment. So when you die, what you see in the mirror when you look there isn't going with you. The carton stays here. The energy leaves. I mean, there it is. Case in point, proof positive. So when you look at it, the physical, the non-physical, there's a boundary that people can follow. And that is the head and the heart. The head can only work with the past. The head will only protect you. The head works with ego and logic, and it's all about working with 5 senses and convincing you to protect yourself.
Yeah.
The heart comes from love. The heart works with energy. The heart knows there's nothing can be taken from us. And the more love we share, the more we get. And there are words to support the non-physical language. With my clients, I have a whole list of power words I give them, and I'll give you an example. There's abundance and money. Which one is physical? Which one is non-physical?
Yeah, money is I would say is physical, and abundance is non.
You know why it's non-physical? Describe abundance to me. You can't. Describe love to me. You can't. Describe gratitude to me. You can't. You can only see how it manifests in the moment. And love, peacefulness, gratitude, abundance, serenity, all of these things, all of them, you don't know what they look like. And they have one thing in common. All of those have to do with who you're being. All the others have to do with what you're doing.
Right.
In the physical, it's what you're doing. In the non-physical, it's who you're being. And that's the difference. And like when I work with clients, like I have I have a lot of very successful clients, and with big jobs, okay? And they aren't jobs. They're just like, it's crazy expansion, crazy. And one of them who runs a big financial team, He's a scientist. He used to work in the drug companies, right? And the reason he hired me was the first time we met, he had this thing that he was going to launch for other financial people. And I've got to do it this way. I told him, I said, you're effing crazy, man. What do you mean? I said, there's a million different ways you can do that.
Yeah.
And you're stuck on one. So I can tell you right now, it's not going very good. I mean, that shocked him, right? Now he doesn't sell anymore. He just goes in and connects with people, shows them the love and respect that they deserve. They ask him if they can get more products from him. And now he has long-lasting relationships. You know, you talked about business. One of the most important things in business, the number one ingredient that you need to have when you work with someone is mutual appreciation.
Mm.
If you don't have mutual appreciation, don't walk, run, because you have a problem. And so many people work that way because they want the money. So if somebody shows up and they aren't, you know, the big thing with me, Alan, is about what is your capacity? I want to know what your capacity is to absorb what I'm going to tell you. And then I'll feed it to you in pieces that you can handle. And let's expand your capacity.
Right.
But most people have very limited capacity. They don't look at potential, possibilities, and probabilities. They don't consider these things. So when you change, it's a very gradual process. And I never tell anyone what to do. In fact, I tell all my clients, I don't even care what their results are. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to give you everything you need. You're the one that makes the choice, not me.
Right.
You make the choices. Come on back. We'll talk about them. How'd they go? What happened? And they just can expand that way based upon their life events. And not only does business change, they have better connections with their kids, with their wife. Their whole life is just like, you know, people come up to them and they go, what the hell happened to you? Like there's something different. You know, I can't. And I tell them, don't say anything. Just say, oh, I'm just like, you know, don't try and explain it.
Yeah.
Because the attraction is the energy.
Yes.
And the world's a mirror. So everyone you see in the world is you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true, my friend. You know, I'm just thinking about, you know, we were talking about clients and, you know, and I work with men in my area. And so what would be some practical steps, a couple of steps that guys could take today to start living with greater clarity and purpose?
You know, I've got to think about that. And the reason I just not spitting something out here is because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm going to be very honest, you know, the vast majority of people run from me. They don't walk, they run. Because the energy scares the hell out of them. I don't have to say anything. They run. Many of them run pointing at me. Oh yeah, he's, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. And the fact of the matter is, if anybody really knew what I teach people, there should be a line from my door in California to New York City. Because what I teach people, you know, there is a heaven and hell. There's no question there is. And it's here on earth.
Yeah.
That's where it is. It's not the afterlife. It's right here. And hell is in the physical. Hell is in attachment. Hell is in judgment and measurement. Hell is in comparing. Hell is in low self-esteem. You know, just on and on and on. The way the stuff is tolerated is just crazy. It's crazy, you know.
Well, I think you did a great job of answering it there. I think, you know, really what you're saying for us to do is maybe to have a look at how it is that we are conducting our lives. How much judgment do we have in our lives? How much are we comparing? And while we may think that's how it is to be successful in life and in business, you know, your story about working with the client and stop selling and instead focused on connecting made a completely different way his business ran. And
Mhm.
so I think for us, my takeaway from everything that you've been saying here today, Bill, is that stop pushing for things and and be willing to allow things to come.
Yeah,
And
the way you attract things is, here's what you have to do. Like I'm changing my coaching program right now. I've hired another coaching group to work with me. Because coaches work, they help.
yeah.
And I'm going very big with it. Okay. And this is like way out there. Like I've just been too quiet too long. I'm gonna make a lot of noise. And just to get, I'm not getting any younger, and I just want to make sure, I get the message out there. But the way I'm going to grow this is through visualizations and energetic assessment of how the future is going to feel.
Mm,
See, I know how it's going to feel. I know what it's going to feel like to stand on a stage in front of 10,000 people and change their lives, and how just amazing, amazing that will be. Not in what I say, but in the fact that there will be more than one person in that audience whose life I will change in the moment. And that to me is incredibly exciting. It's incredibly exciting. See, I don't care what it looks like, and I won't know it when I see it. I'll only know it when I feel it. Because your feelings are the only thing that are true in life. Nothing else is true. It's all made up. The only thing that's true is how you feel. And the reason you feel that way, because you can't have a feeling without a story. And what people are doing is living out the stories from their past,
yes.
what are causing the emotions, the reactions, all from the stuff in the past, rather than writing the story in the moment.
Mm,
I'm writing my story today. My future is just like wide open. I don't know what's going. I've been living in an RV now for 6 years, and I'm selling it. In fact, a guy stopped by yesterday and said, "This is for sale. I really like this." I said, "Oh, you got your checkbook? Let's do it." And I'm going to go talk to my wife, but I'm going to sell it. And everybody, what are you going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I don't have any idea. It doesn't matter. It'll be there. It'll be fine. I'm not going to keep myself all wrapped up in fear of whether or not I sell it. What am I going to do? Whatever. You see, because when you're going after clarity, do you realize that in life, Alan, you never get clarity?
hmm
It never happens. All you do is you get a little more clarity, which causes more that you want to learn in front of it. You're
Yeah.
always in search of that clarity. Always. People are, oh, I'm going to do this. How do you do it? Well, I'm working, I'm figuring it out. Well, when I start figuring things out, it's kind of like climbing a ladder. I go up 3 steps. By the time I get up 10 steps, I've got a much better view. Like
Yeah,
I know more, right?
that's right.
That's the way clarity works. And then I look and I go, wow, I was just going to build this little place. Look at that ranch. Now my plans have changed,
Yeah.
right? Because you get more clarity. So you can kind of go with what feels good.
Yeah. Love that. I've been doing some research, if I remember correctly. Taoism was very important in your life. And so I wanted to ask about, a piece of advice, and maybe it came from the Tao Te Ching and maybe it was from elsewhere, but what has been the best piece of advice you've been given, and how is it still serving you today?
Oh, the absolute best was Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was looking for a platform to live from
Yeah.
without any dogma.
That's a powerful program. I think I still have it.
That book is amazing. It's based on the universal laws, first of all,
Yes.
but it's a brilliant book. There's 7 laws, 7 days. You start on Sunday with the law of pure potentiality. That's the first law. And he just says, Alan, we're pure potential. Why are you keeping that in the cage? Let it run wild.
Yes.
Everything's potential. The law of giving, the law of acceptance. I mean, it's amazing. When you look at that, I'd read one every day. this is the thing that saved me when I walked away from my life. Somebody handed me that book, an Eskimo, boom, out of nowhere. You might like this. I was like really crazy. And I read it. I said, the pure potential, huh? Let me see. So I just spent the day looking around. I'm going, damn, that's right. Go to day 2, read it. Wow, that's right. Like, oh, I can see that. Like it just, so you live in this. Now I'm connecting with universal energy. Now my whole life is changing rapidly because of that, because I'm out of the state of limitation.
Right.
It doesn't mean I have more money. It doesn't matter. Because I can tell you this, when you know who you are, and I know you're aware of this, right? There's nothing sweeter. You can have all the money in the world. You can have the best looking wife and girl. It doesn't matter, man. When you're in your purpose and you've got that, there is nothing sweeter, period.
Absolutely. Completely agree. What a great conversation today, Bill. Of everything that we spoke about, and maybe there was something we didn't get a chance to touch on, what would be the takeaway you'd want us to have?
Probably one of the most basic rules, guidepost that I would recommend to everybody is this: never be defensive. When you're defensive, you're protecting a story, and there's nothing to protect.
Interesting. Love that. That's so true.
Yeah, it's a very simple guidepost.
Yeah.
Try it on. It'll blow your mind. It's like, wow. And you listen to, people use backhanded defensiveness, It's like, hey, I bought a new car. Let me tell you about it. So what I'm doing is I'm wanting you to tell me I did good when I bought the car, right? I'm trying to engage you in a conversation where I defend my purpose or the purchase I made.
Yeah.
It's so
Absolutely.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Bill, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with us today and showing us how we can break free from all these external expectations, whether it's in business or our personal life, and how we can truly live our purpose and with a spiritual blueprint. So if men are interested in getting a hold of you and participating in your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
My website is True Life Purpose Now, and I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm going to launch it next week. I'm launching a 5-day life purpose challenge. Now, here's the beauty of it. It's a self-paced program. So I'm not launching it next week and you have to do it next week. I'm launching it next week. Somebody can sign up for it and do it whenever they want. It'll be 5 days where every day you'll come in and watch a very short video about a point, an important point. There will be some explanations about it. There's going to be some questions for you to ponder. And the whole thing is, as you go through the day, just create some awareness in your life with that point and see what you notice and how you can make a different choice to change your life. And it's self-guided. So I'm just setting it up. It's absolutely free. And it's going to be, in fact, I'll send you the information. So if you wanted to, anybody you might want to share it with, the topics are great. They're really, really 5 really cool topics each day. Real simple, real simple. I do things simply. I never tell anybody anything. I don't give them anything to do. I have no assignments.
Yeah.
I'm just going to open you up and I'm going to help you create awareness so you can make a better choice. And then you get, I've got a lot of skeptics have come to me, and say, man, I give 100% success guarantee. Somebody who works with me, they get their money back, but it's never happened in 15 years. And, I laugh. It's like, I am looking for skeptics because I've run out. I'm like, my skeptic closet is empty because when they come, what I teach is irrefutable truth. And you get to go play with it. That's all. You just go play with it and see what works for you.
Yes.
I don't care what you choose and what you do, but whatever thing you choose when you're working with me will change your life. These testimonials are funny. I had these clients sent me that they'll be in the videos for my 5-day challenge, but they're like, when Bill speaks, listen to him. Your life will change instantly.
Love it.
It's pretty funny. Yeah. So
I'm
I'll
gonna
let you know about that challenge.
absolutely. I'm gonna make sure that in today's episode show notes, so people can reach out and get a hold in doing that. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. And so as we close out today's special, I also want to offer a challenge and challenge everyone here with a question that every man must confront in their life. And that is, are you truly leading your life with purpose and integrity? Because too often we get caught up in the grind, pushing forward in our careers, relationships, our responsibilities in life. And we only wake up one day feeling lost, just as Bill was talking about earlier, and we get disconnected and we're uncertain about the man that we've become. And so that's why today I want to introduce to you our program, Living with Integrity. It's a transformative program designed to help men reclaim their purpose, rebuild trust, and lead with confidence. It isn't just about self-improvement. It's about stepping into your full potential as a father, a husband, and a leader. And if you're tired of feeling stuck and know that there's more to life, then I want you to tap into something that we're going to give to you today, and that is taking our free integrity challenge. Just go to members.theawakenedman.net. The first step is for you to take. The impact's going to last a lifetime, though. So live with purpose, and let's get started today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is the Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.